Welcome to part two. We'll be continuing where we left off. So I think we left off the fetch file, right? So I hadn't finished doing the fetch file, so we're going to do the fetch file. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and look for the solution, right? Remember the solution is in the link for part one, right? There's there's the first part, like this is the second part. So what I'm going to do is for you guys, if you want to get the code, you just click on that link and then it's going to send you here. And then you're going to click on code and then make sure you click on local and then you're going to click download zip and then done. That's pretty much all you have to do. So what I'm going to do is since this is my GitHub, I'm going to clone it. This is something that you probably gonna learn. Yeah, you're gonna learn it next year if you're majoring in computer science. I made a mistake. So let me see where I'm okay. So I made a mistake. I was supposed to move to a different folder, but then that's fine. So I'm gonna say CD, move into, should I say downloads? Yeah, I think download should be fine. Well, seems like it's confusing. That's fine. So let me go here and then let me see. So copy, that's it there. Let me see, let me do this. Let me say show more options and then properties. And then C drive. Okay. So let me do this. So let me say ls to list everything that's currently within the folder. So there's my downloads. Okay. So I'm gonna clear my terminal. So clear and then cd. Okay, yeah. I'm mixing up the things, right? So remember this terminal, it it gives you a Unix like environment. So it's like it's basically like you're using a MacBook or a Linux operating system. It's one of those, right? So that's why I was mixing them up a bit. So ls, so come on, okay, since my laptop is jamming now. Okay, so let me open it again. Why is it jamming at this time? So cd downloads and then ls. Oh, okay, it was loading. So that's everything that's inside my downloads folder, right? So, okay, download seems to be too occupied, right? So let me move out and then let's try desktop instead. Desktop is in, yeah. So now I can put it, I can clone my, so this is what is, so basically cloning is taking something from a remote server and putting it in your local computer, right? So that's what I'm trying to do. And I know I could have just downloaded the zip file, but trust me, this is the better way. Because when I clone it like this, that means there's gonna be like a link between my local copy and my remote copy. So that means any changes that I make here, I can submit them or upload them to GitHub. We call that pushing. I can push them to GitHub. So if I list everything, there's the folder now. There. So it is down, basically, in a way, for those in layman's terms, I'm basically downloading this file and there is it is downloaded now inside of my desktop. So now I need to change and move into that directory, right? So CD, remember CD change, stands for change directory. And directory is what it is something we call a folder. It's just a synonym for a folder. And then I'm gonna list everything. I don't know why it's a bit slow when it comes to this. So that's everything inside of that folder, right? So remember that with the practical, we hadn't touched too much on the batch file. I think I don't know if the batch file even had any information. Let me just double check and see what's there. No, so okay, this is what you see. I barely had information here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this around a lot, right? So there's a lot of things that need to be fixed, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start answering the practical, right? And with the way I'm going to answer the practical is I'm going to I'm going to also include the bonus, right? Excluding the bonus, you can still work, but either way, it's one of the same thing. So I'm gonna do the bonus. So they say that you should place your Twang program or class in the CSC2A package. So remember when you talked about packages, I don't know if I did mention it, but whenever you see something like this, right, it means that we have the folder with this name. And then this dot means that the thing after the dot is the name of a folder that is contained within this folder. So it means I'm going to need two folders, one called XC and the other one called CSC2A. And the CSC2A folder needs to be inside of the XC folder. So let's do that. So obviously you're going to have your student number, initials, and everything. And then within that folder, that's when you're going to start creating the package. That's when you're going to need to start packaging. So I'm going to create a new folder. You could do it via terminal. I don't want to confuse you guys. You could do it via terminal, but I'm not going to do that because I'm using a Unix-like environment. So I don't want you to think that the same thing that I'm going to do there is the same thing that you do on the Windows operating system. It's not. On the Windows, there's different commands for it. So that's why I'm doing it manually. So here I'm going to need to create an axis folder. And then that dot, it means within this axis folder, I'm going to have that folder. And then the folder's name is the name after the dot, which is CSC2A. So there we go. We have our packages, right? Done, we're sorted. So let's go back and see here. So um, create an array to store the output, process the numbers and store the result in an array and display overlooking. Okay, seems like I'm not going to touch. Yeah, I'm not going to touch this, right? For for logical reasons, right? Because I don't want to waste time. So I'm not going to touch on that. So what I'm going to do, right, is I'm going to delete this class file. Remember the class file for those who did computer science, right? So everyone did computer science by now. If you are doing computer science 2, you did computer science 1A or first year computer science. So if you remember, there was object files, right? It ended in .o, which basically contained the machine language or the language of the computer. So the class files is somewhat like that. It- It's sort of like a language of the computer, but not really because remember we're using Java and Java uses something called a JVM, a Java Virtual Machine, meaning that it doesn't actually translate it to that specific operating system after it compiles. It's only translated when you execute it. So it's the class file doesn't actually include the file, the machine code for that specific operating system. It's just a virtual. It's some. It's how should I put it? It's just it's sort of like in between, right? It's in between the machine language and the programming language. It's sort of like in between. So after creating the axis CS and then CSC2A folders, we need to go inside the CSC2A folder. And then within the CSC2 folder, CSC2A folder, we need to create all these folders. If you scroll down, we have all these folders that we need to create. So the first one is the bin folder. It should be empty at submission, right? When you submit it, it should be empty. It means you should delete whatever is in there when you submit. Keep that in mind. So I'm going to start by creating the bin folder. So the bin folder just basically contains the binaries, which is your .class folders, right? Or .class files, I mean. And then docs, this is where documentation, right? UML diagrams, all those things, design, anything that is related to design, that's where it goes. It goes in the docs folder. So even if the folders are empty, right, include them because there's marks for them. So I'm going to create the docs and then source folder, that's where your source code goes. Basically anything that ends with the Java, right? But if you're dealing with other languages, it ends in that specific languages extension. So if it's C++, you put the C files within the source folder. But then you should have done this last year, right? Yeah, you should have. So the source folder should be pretty much self-explanatory. And then data folder, right? Data, it's those TXT files when you're doing file handling. That's why that's where that's the folder where you should put those files. Whether it's a it's a web document or it's a text file, you go in the data folder. So I'm gonna create the data folder. So there's quite a lot involved in Comsci 2A. You need to make sure you follow the instructions and then delete directory, that's where your binaries are. Usually that's where the jar files will go. But for now, we don't have to worry about that. So lib and then done. So this is the structure they expect you to have. Failure to follow the structure, you lose marks because there's marks for this. And then now I need to move my information around. So since I'm going to need to move my information around, so my files around. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this Java file, then I'm going to cut it, and then just like OT Genesis once said, you need to cut it. So I'm going to cut it and then go to this source folder and then put my source code there. So that's me following instructions. And then batch files, they go inside docs, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So contains batch file to compile. So your batch files need to be inside the docs folder. So I'm gonna go inside here and inside the docs folder, I'm gonna put the batch file. You might ask yourself, how are we going to run all of this? It's so complicated. Well, that's why we need batch files. That's why we need to understand things like command line arguments and all those things. Command line commands that you type inside the command line prompt or its terminal. So these are all the things that we need to sort of like really understand, right? So for now, I think the source code we are done. So let me just double check. Let me see. Let me open VS Code. Okay, now there's a lot going on in my. So I'm gonna click open, and then I'm gonna go to desktop because that's where I saved it. Then I'm gonna open this folder. I need to see, and then yes, I'm gonna trust. And then source folder, and then there's my source code. So there's the source code. So I think we were done. Yeah, this is pretty much everything. So we are done with everything. So that's fine. So I'm just gonna leave it like this. I just wanted to just double check if everything was fine. So I'm gonna leave it like that. And then now let's go to the batch file because the main important thing is the batch file. I'm gonna repeat. The main important thing is the batch file. If your code doesn't run with the batch file that you've submitted, then I think it's a zero. I think that should be a zero. Let me see. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that should be a zero. Although we kept it 40%. Right? Yeah. Submission that do not compile should be kept at 40%. different, but then yeah, I think you lose a lot of months because the page file isn't right. There's supposed to be something though, but it's fine. So let's see. So we have all of this, right? So let's start. So create command line variables for the required folders, right? So they want you to create command line variables for the required folders. So to create command line variables, right? So let's talk about the command line a bit. Okay, that's number two. Okay, I will explain. I'll use the terminal when you get to number two. Number one is pretty much basic, right? Okay, so I need to open, since I moved my dash file around, I need to open it again, since it's now in a different folder. So I need to open it again. So I'm gonna go here, open it Notepad++, and then there we go. So we need to create the variables, right? So we need to create a command line variable, right? There's they're different, right? There's a difference between a command line variable and an environment variable. So a command line variable is just a variable that you're going to use on the command line. That's pretty much the main difference. So how do we create it? Just like you create a variable, so you give it a name. So I'm gonna say you could just say source folder, something like this, and then is equals to, and then you give it a value. So basically it's you put in the variable name on the side, followed by an equal sign, and then followed by the value. So the value is basically what is contained within the variable. So that means every time when we call that variable, that value will be put in place of where that variable is. So they said you should create, you can look at the instructions, right? They said you should create command line variables for the required folders. What are the required folders? These folders over here. So that means for each and every single folder, we need to create a variable for it. So it's fine. I'm gonna create those variables. So I'm gonna put in a comment here, and then I'm gonna say create command line variables, right? Straightforward. And then remember, rem just is the keyword that you type before making a comment. So that means everything after rem, you need to put a space. Space is important. You see what happens when you remove the space. You need to put a space, then everything that you type after rem or rem is a comment. It's just notes for yourself or to other developers to explain what your code is doing. So we have this, then I'm gonna say source, um, okay, I'm just gonna say source folder. Do I have to, how am I gonna name this? Being, it's fine, I'm just gonna name it being source the way it should be. I'm not gonna add any extra names because I want it to be too long. And then it's gonna have a value, and then I'm gonna have src value source for source folder, and then I'm gonna have docs, and then what else we have lib, and then data, and then I think that's pretty much what we need. Lib, bin docs source data lib. Yeah, that's pretty much all we need. So now I need to give them values, right? What value should we give them? So the value, it's sort of like, I'll say it's sort of like depends, right? But let's see how we're gonna structure this. So, but to be honest, this is straightforward because I don't know why they want you to do that, but then it's fine. You can create the variables because what value should each variable have? It's basically the location of the folder. So bin should have bin. So I can check here, I can say view more option, then properties, and then you should see it here, the location, right? But then we don't want absolute path. There's relative path and absolute path. The absolute path, right, is you copying everything. So if I click here, you see here at the top, here where it's highlighted. That's what we call an absolute path. That means it starts at the very beginning until that folder you're looking for. We want to make use of what we call relative. Relative what? Um, relative, what is, you want to make use of something that we call relative path, right? Not an absolute path. You need a relative path. So then, so relative, it means that you basically let the operating system decide with everything else is fine. So in order for us, one thing about the operating system, right, it can be very tricky. If you were to just write slash bin like this might not work because it might think that this thing is global. That means you need to look for it globally, and of which you might not find it. Right? Basically, it's gonna look for this in the C drive. And if you look at if you go to the C drive, right? Let me go to my C drive. You see, there's no bin folder here, so the computer gets confused. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the dots before the folder name to say that within this current folder. Don't look in the C drive. Look within where I currently am. So there it is. And then I'm gonna put the backslash source for the source folder, and then dot backslash docs for the docs folder, and then dot backslash lib for the lib folder, and then dot backslash data for the data folder. So this would be my command line variables. I'm going to use them when I'm compiling and running my Java source code. Right. So we have solved number one. Number one should be solved. I think that yeah, that's worth 3 months. Right. And you see correct folders, correct naming, correct files in the folder, there's marks for that. So variables are there. So far we have 5 months. So far. And we'll be looking at the folders only and not looking at the code. Yeah, just looking at that, and also the fact that we put in the files in the right folder. So everything that we've done so far is worth only 5. So we're gonna go to number 2. So number 2, it says set Java home and add the JDK bin folder to the path, right? So you need to set Java home and add the JDK to the path. So Java home, right? So we need to set. So this is now what we call environment variables. So what are environment variables? So environment variables, right? So the environment variables are basically variables that it's basically you creating a variable that's gonna store the location of the thing that you're going to look for. But for example, a program or something. So in this sense, let me just make an example. So to give you a list of the current environment variables available in the path, right? You can run the command set. That's one way to go about it, but then set is not really specific because you have to look for the environment variable with path, written path like this. So that means everything that's here is what we call an environment variable, right? It's part of that path environment variable. So I'm gonna type CLS to here, and then to be more specific, right, I'm gonna say set path so that it only lists what's currently inside the path. For me, so the Java path is already there. You see, there's the Java path for me, right? And I want you to pay close attention to how each of the Java paths are separated. They're separated with a semicolon. The semicolon is very important. You need to make use of the you need to understand that semicolon. So that's how each path is separated. It's divided by semicolon. That's something that's very important. So why path? What's the whole point of this? So the whole point of this is that, so for example, if I run Java version of this, like how did it know that I'm looking for? How did it know to, how did it find Java? Like where the Java that Java is installed, how did it find it? Because I set what we call an environment variable, meaning that it's global, meaning that when I type in certain commands or when I look for programs that came with the Java development kit or JDK, it should be able to pick it up via the terminal. And I don't have to specify the full path of where the program is stored. So when you see Java hyphen version, this basically calls the Java program called Java.exe. But how did it know where to find Java.exe? We set what we call an environment variable, meaning that whenever that command is typed, the operating system should do its duty to go look for that program because I've set it and made it sort of like making it global, right? So I'm gonna show you what I mean. So I'm gonna go inside C drive and then program files, and then I'm gonna search for Java. There should be Java here. So Java, and then there's my JDK. So there's the JDK, and then to find all these executables, right, all these programs that we use to run Java, they're inside the bin folder. So you're gonna go to bin folder and then scroll down, and then go to J, and then when you go to J, you should find there is java.exe. So this is the program that we're looking for. If I click here at the top, right, if I click here at the top like this is the full path. If I hadn't set the environment variable, right, it was going to show an error, and I would be forced to, to, to put in the absolute path. So after this, then I would have to say Java. Then now I can say version, right? This is how it was going to, okay, there's this program files in the space. So when you encounter things like this, you need to put it inside double quotes. Yeah, it's an it's a weird thing. Trust me, I know it's a weird thing, but to me it makes sense. So you see two different commands, but then it ran. But you can't always be typing the absolute path. That's outrageous. You know, human beings are very good with memory. They're very bad with memory. We tend not to remember things. So when you set the environment variable, right, you include this path starting from here up until here to make it global. So that when you type only the Java command, it knows, oh, this Java executable, it belongs to this directory or that folder. So that's the whole point of this thing, right? So that's the whole reason behind it. So I hope that makes sense. I hope that clarifies a lot of things. And then there's also Java P, then there's Java C, there's Java C for compiling. When you want to call the compiler, that's the Java compiler. So let's go back here. So we want to set the Java home and add the JDK to the bin folder. Right. Before we do that, I need to move my JDK. The way I set up my thing, right? I did my own way. The way you guys are supposed to set it up is that you need to download the JDK folder and then go to the C drive and then just simply paste it here. So this JDK folder, you need to paste it here, right? So once it's in the C drive, I'm gonna go inside the JDK folder and then go inside the bin folder. And then I'm gonna copy the location. So I'm just gonna right click here and say copy or just control C. So now I know the path, right, or the location of where to find the Java compiler, where to find those commands or those programs, right? Remember they end in .exe, meaning that they're executables, they're programs. So instead of me having to type all of that, I'm trying to automate things, to automate stuff. So they're saying set the Java home and JDK bin folder to the path. So when they say to the path, right, they mean remember what I was listing. So when you set your environment variable, right, it gets joined or it gets added into this list, right? So that when you look for your when you try to run commands like Java or Java C, it goes into this path and then looks at the list of 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 paths that are there, and then these paths that are there, if it happens to be there, then it's gonna look for a specific program. You don't have basically you don't have to type the full location or the absolute path. Right? I hope this makes sense. Try to clarify as best as I can. So now we need to set the Java home. So the Java home, it just means the location of the JDK. That's what it means. So there's telling you set the Java home. If you look at this, it should be straight, it should be self-explanatory. So to set, right, to create, so I'm gonna create an environment variable. To create or set or change an environment variable, you type the command set, right? You can you can type it as an uppercase or lowercase, it really doesn't matter. In my case, no pun intended. In my case, I'm gonna use uppercase letters, right? So I'm gonna say set and then give it a name, right? So the way it works is that you use the set command and then followed by the variable name equals to followed by value. And the equals to do not put unnecessary spaces. Do not do that. This is wrong. This is also wrong because of this space. So no spaces in between. So I'm gonna give it a name. They say we call it Java home. So Java home, and then what's the value? It's the location of the JDK, which is the bin folder. So that's exactly what I'm going to set it to. So this should give you marks for that. But then we're almost done. We're not finished yet. And then add the JDK bin folder to the path. So this telling you to add to the path. So what does it mean to add to the path? So to add to the path, it just means to add to an environment variable, right? What does that mean? So okay, there's quite a lot of explaining involved here. So let me let me explain it. So when we create an environment variable, right? Or just think of environment variables as just variables that contain values or that contain something. As simple as that, right? I want you to think of them in terms of like that. So in coding, we would have to create or use a data type to specify what type of content each variable should have. So if I say int num is equals to 2, that means that on the right hand side, I'm expected to have an integer, right? When it comes to variables, environment variables, we don't specify all those types and there's different rules, right? So I just use the command set followed by the variable name. So let's say num is the name, and then is equals to followed by the value, and then you'll be done, just like that, right? And then to update or change, how do I put it? To change the environment variable, right? You've created this environment variable, it exists now. There's something called num. To change it or update it, in coding, right? To update something, to update a variable, don't you simply reuse the same variable name and then set it to something else? You do, right? So for example, let's say I wanted to increase the current value of num by 1. I would simply say num is equal to num plus 1, like this, right? Remember, I'm using semicolon here because Java, that's how Java operates. You need to terminate with a semicolon. So the same similar concept is used with environment variables. So to change or update an environment variable, it's similar. You're going to say set, no, you're going to say, yeah, I think you're going to say set followed by the variable name like this, right? So followed by variable name like this. And then in environment, when it comes to environment variables, there's a slight variation. So Remember, this is right associated, right? Meaning that whatever's on the right hand side is executed first. So that means it starts by getting the current value of now. So in programming, this is straightforward. There's no special syntax. But when it comes to environment variables, there's special syntax to extract a value from a variable. How do you do that? You put percentage symbols, and then within the percentage symbols, you put in the variable name. That's how you extract something from a variable. That's how you take something out from a variable. It's like going into a box and taking something out, right? So in environment variables, this is how you do it. You have to, this is the rule, you have to use percentage symbols, right? So that's pretty much how you would update, but then we're not done updating yet because what's going to happen is that I'm just going to simply set it back to the same value. So now how do I add to this? So there's two ways you can add. You can add to the end or add to the front, right? So to add to the end, you need to add a semicolon followed by the value or the value that you want to add to the current variable, to the current environment variable value. Or it's exactly the same thing, but then the only difference is that value comes immediately after the equal sign and then a semicolon. So this will be adding it to the front of the list, and then this will be adding it to the back of the list. As you can see, the semicolon comes after, and then I add this value. So to show you what I mean, let me type in this command set tab. So it means remember when I use percentage symbol, right? That those percentage symbol, it means get whatever is inside this variable. And as you can see that it's an environment variable because there's a name of it on the left hand side and an equal sign and no spaces in between. And then copy. So this is what happens, right? So when you run this command over here, those percent symbols, they get replaced with the actual value or what's inside that variable. So like this. So as you can see, it becomes very, very long, right? And I think you can start to get it, right, if I do it like this. You see that the last thing in the environment variable, it had no semicolon. That's why we always gonna add the semicolon before we add the next thing to the environment variable. So that's I hope that makes a lot of sense. I'm trying to explain it in the best possible way. So right, we understand this, right? So now let's continue. So what I'm going to do now, I'm gonna put a comment and say update the pet environment variable, right? How do you update that set? And then followed by its name. Remember, its name is pet in all caps is equal to. Remember, we need to use percentage symbols to extract the value. So I need to extract the current value inside pet. So it doesn't matter where you append it at the end or at the front. It really doesn't matter. So I'm just going to choose add it or append it at the end. And then at the end, I'm going to need to add this location here. You could manually add it like this, right? You could do that. But remember, we created an environment variable called Java Home. So here, I'm also going to use percentage symbols to extract what's inside Java Home. Because remember, to extract something from a variable, you need to use percentage symbols. So now this gets appended or added at the end of this list. And then we update the same variable with this new list. So in a way, right, let me show you what it means in a way. So if we had, for example, um, so if we had, let's say pet, okay, let's say pet was like, how do I put it? So let's say pet was like word create, something like this, like, and then let's say Java home. I'm just making an example so that you can picture it. Then Java home is like JDK. It's the word JDK. It's a word type. So to add JDK or this word to be a part of this list to be like this. So I'm looking for something like this. How do I achieve that? It's kind of a long process, but that's how the rules are rules. That's how we should do it. So I'm gonna need to say set path, and then I need to extract the current value of path or whatever is inside path, and then add a semicolon because as you can see, path it doesn't have a semicolon at the end. It always doesn't have a semicolon at the end, so you must always append your own semicolon. After the semicolon, I'm gonna like you could like I said, you could manually add GDP like that, but then we already have an environment variable for that, and we know how to extract something from an environment variable. We use the two percentage symbols. So now what this does, right, this line, it simply just takes this, copy, and then takes that, and then what's inside this is JDK, and then copy and put it there. So that's pretty much what happens. I know it's a long way of doing it, but that's how they want you guys to do it. So we did that and then use the Java source code to compile the code found in the to compile the code found in the source folder, right? And output to the bin folder, right? So what you're supposed to do is compile. So you need to read step by step. They are telling you that use the Java C command, right, or program to compile whatever is stored inside the source folder. So in Java, right, remember when you compile something, when programming in general, when you compile something, you need to find out where, you need to find out what's the name of the Java file that has the main function, right? The important, remember the main function serves as an entry point. So the twang or twang class or twang.java file is the one that has the main, is the one that has the main function. So now I need to say Java C to compile and then twang.java, right? But then this will not work, right? Why would it not work? Because the batch file's location is important. Let me show you where the batch file is located. It's inside the docs folder. So it's inside the docs folder, right? There's the docs folder. And you see a twang.java class here? Nope. And that's why it's not gonna run. So what you need to do is you need to move out of this folder. And how do you move out of this folder? There's two dots, right? To move, basically to move backwards, right? To move one folder backwards. So I'm in docs and I want to move into CSC2A. How do I do that? How do I do it? Do that via the terminal. It's two dots like this. And then you just put a backslash to, right? So these two dots, it means move out of this current, the folder that I'm currently in, right? And then go into which folder? Or you can, let me see. Yeah, this is fine. You need to move out of this folder. And then after you move out of this folder, right? Now I'm inside CSC2A. So these are all the folders inside CSC2A. Where is the source code found inside the source folder? So now I could just do this, right? I could just say source like this and then twang.java, right? That's fine. But we have environment variables for that. That's where I need to use the this formula to extract something from a variable. So there's the source, and then I need to do that. And then that's part of it, and then backslash again, I need to look for the twang class. So the twang file, so it's called twang.java. So now this will definitely find the file, right? It's definitely gonna find the file now. But whatever, remember when you compile this, right? So let me hopefully it's gonna run with no issues. I don't want to have any issues. So let me double click it. Let's try to run the batch file, right? So if the batch file ran, right? And then we have some issues here. Um, okay, the train, blah, blah. Okay, I was thinking about it that might cause issues, but let me see. Let me double check something. Let me go back. Okay, it shouldn't be in the source here. It's gonna be in the docs folder. So if it did compile, it's gonna be in the docs folder. So we're having a slight issue here. So the issue is that um yeah, okay, let me try to show you what the issue is. So remember when you use two percentage symbols, right? It takes whatever's inside that variable and then pastes it. So this is what we have, which is a problem. So I need to remove, I basically need to remove this dot from the environment variable like this. I think, yeah, let's not put the dots. In this case, the dots are always important, right? But in this case, they're not really important because as you can see, it affects my code. So after I've removed the dot, right, it's gonna append this, which is wrong because you see it's gonna end up appending two backslashes. I do not want that. So that means I must remove one backslash. So now I want to be left with something like this. But remember, this that I've highlighted is already stored in a command line variable called source. So I'm just gonna replace this with source like this. Right. Hopefully it should work now. So let me build it again. Oh no. I see where the problem is. Yeah, I see where the problem is. Um, uh, this is why I don't like fetch files at all. Okay, this is fine. Okay, this is fine. I can still use the dots here, it's fine. The dots is still fine. I'm forgetting something very fundamental. So before I do anything, I'm currently within this folder, right? That's where the page file is. So I need to change the folder. So I need to type in this command like this to change directory to move out of that folder, right? This should move out of the folder and then this should work perfectly fine. So I forgot to do that. I was putting the two dots in the wrong place. I was supposed to say CD to change directory, and then after changing directory, then it's okay. Sounds like, oh, okay, it's the dots. Let's put like the dots. Okay, and then let's run it again. There. Mm, because it's supposed to, okay, this is supposed to run. Seems like I'm having issues here. So let me see. Yeah, but as you can see, one thing at a time. When I type CD, right, you see I was still in the docs folder. When I typed CD, I moved out. So I was now in the CSC2A folder. So this should have been fine. Like should have, isn't it called trying with Java? I think it is fine. The name should be fine. Is it Trang? Yeah, I think it's Trang with Java. Let me just double check. Desktop, and then yeah, the name is fine. Trying to Java. Okay, let me do this. Let me just say source, right? Let me just say source. I want to see if that's the main file. What am I missing here? So error, found, the file. The file does exist. Could not found. There's a small issue. I'm not sure where the error is. Okay, let me put the dots in it. Let's see. Yes, so why does it feel like it's running the old version or something? The ditch file is fine. The ADK is fine. The path is being set. So the issue is here. Okay, let me just double check something here. Let me just try to run it from here and then open the terminal. Uh, Java, C, and uh, mm, it seems like okay, the dot is fine, but it seems like why is it? Let me see. Oh, I have a lot of terminals open here. So let me close that. Let me see. So after moving out of dots folder, right, CD, mm, okay, let me do this. And then let's do this. Let's see if it's going to work now. Okay, let me use this change directory doesn't work. It's still under the old version. So let me refresh. But still something no, because something just doesn't sit on. Okay, let me do this and refresh. When is it doing this? Oh, let me remove this. So source. Okay, I think I should do like this. Right. Or I can just leave it as it is. Yeah, I think I can just leave it as it is. I think there's many ways to solve this, so yeah, I think it should be fine now. So I'm gonna move out of this folder, right? And then move into the source folder. Then run this command. Should find it. So I'm going to refresh. Still didn't find it. That's odd. Mm, but it does update the tab. As you can see, there's the JDK pin at the end, so it does update it. And then CD. Oh, I think the issue here. Let me do this. I think it wants me to. I think I should have done it like this. Yeah, I think that was the main issue. Yeah, I think this was the main issue. Yeah, I think that's the main issue. So let's try it again. Refresh. Yeah, that was the main issue. It's a small error. Yeah, I forgot to put the set command. So there's many ways you can play around with it. It's fine. I'm choosing to do it this way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this. You can put, to be honest, there's many ways to do this. You can put forward slashes like this, but then just remember when you use this environment variable, try to omit the backslash operator. Try to omit it. In my case, it's already not included, so I'm going to include it whenever I run. So now I'm going to type src like this because it's not included in this environment variable itself. So that's what I'm doing there. So I'm going to end task and then do this again, try to pick one again. And then now I'm giving an error again. So, okay, okay, let me do this. Okay, still not working. Okay, so it wants me to leave it like this, not like that. So you should actually move into the folder. So there's two ways you can do it, right? You can move into the source folder like this. So you start by moving out of the current folder, which is docs folder, then you're moving into the source folder like this, right? Then you can run this command, and then it should do it now. So there we go. Now it's running. And then if I check, I think, yeah. So this class file, right, this one over here, this class file, it shouldn't be here. If you check the instructions, you should put it in the bin folder. How do we do that? You simply put a greater than sign for redirection, right? Or not that's a different problem. You simply type -d to specify the destination, right? Where is the destination? Where is it supposed to go? So the destination is going to be going to be the bin folder. So I'm going to do this bin. Okay, it's going to be tricky. Let me see. So because after I've changed this directory, I think I shouldn't even be changing the directory. I think I should find a way to use the absolute path. But the thing is that it's not going to compile. And then that's fine. So let's try this. Like if I'm currently in the source folder right now, but if I go back here, I'm currently in the source folder, right? After I've used the cd command or the change command, change directory command. To go back out, I would have to use those two dots. Then I'll move into the bin folder, right? Pretty straightforward, right? So hopefully this is gonna work. So let's go to the docs folder. If it didn't work, we should have issues. Yeah. Okay, no. Okay, you might not have necessarily have issues. Let me just double check. Let's look at the bin folder. Yeah, perfect. So so this is fine. So there's the class. So we solved that. So remember these two dots is to move out of the current folder. Remember when I use change, when I use the cd command, change direct, I change the direct. Or you could do this. Like, let me try something. It seems like this does work. You don't actually need to necessarily change the direction because if you change the direction, that means you're gonna keep changing the direction. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say move one folder out backward, right? Meaning move out of the current folder, which is docs, because the bench file is inside docs. After you're outside of docs, move into source folder, and then you find Java. And then after you run this command, minus D is it says the destination. D is just stands for destination. So whatever this command returns, if it gives me back a file, send it to this destination, which is the bin folder. But in the bin folder, I would like to move out the current folder once, right? And then move into the bin folder. We are currently in the docs folder. Remember, we always need to append this to move out of the current folder. So hopefully it works. So I'm going to delete this. Hopefully it works without me having to change direction. So I'm gonna go inside docs, then I'm gonna run it. The page file, it should fail to run the program, right? Because the train is inside, yeah, I think it worked. It should fail to run the program because the class file is inside the bin folder now. There it is, perfect. So it's now inside the string, inside this bin folder. So to run the program, we need to locate that bin folder. How do we do that? Simple. We just move out of the current folder. Remember, the batch file is inside the docs folder. So always, before you run a move, before you run a command or before specify the folder, I must specify that move out of this current folder and then go into the bin folder, then backslash. You should find a twang class file, then should run it. So I'm gonna go back here, and then delete this, go back to docs, and then double click uh, class path not found. Okay, I clearly did something wrong. So, but then it does send it to the bin folder, right? Which is fine. Mm, I think, let me see. I think I might have to use that command. Is it the, is it the, is it the class path? I think it's, let me see. There's a command called class path. Let me see if that's gonna do the trick. Okay, could not find the old main class. 80. Oh, so let me do this and then twang. This is quite complicated. Trust me, it's not nice. But yeah, that's what you guys have to do. I have to deal with. Okay, but it did run. So I'm gonna put a space here and then put 30 for the command line argument and then run it again. Yeah, perfect. Now it runs. So let me try to explain what's going on. When you run the Java, this is the part that's important. Right? Okay, here, remember I'm using uppercase, so I'm gonna change this to uppercase. So what's happening here, right, is that when you try to run the class file, right, if Java doesn't want you to specify the path like in that way, it wants you to use this command called -cp or class path, meaning the path where the .class files are found or the class file. So where are they found? So you need to move out of this current folder, then go into the bin folder. That's where you find it. Then you provide the name of that class file that you want to compile. And since we're using command line argument, also need to pass command line argument, which is any value. I just use 30. So there's two ways to use class path. You can use -cp or minus, and then you literally type class path like this. And then I'm gonna save the changes, and then I'm gonna refresh here. Always refresh, right, to get the latest changes. Then I'm gonna double click. It should run exactly the same way. Okay, class path doesn't want to work, but it does. I'll check the documentation. You can also use class path. Seems like it only prefers -cp. So just use -cp. Just stick to -cp. And then that's pretty much what you guys had to do. And then let's just check one last, what other thing do we need? Yeah. So we did do this. We did do this. So we are left with one last thing, which is simple. It's not very simple, but let's see how to do it. Use Java for Java P to decompile. So to decompile, right? Decompile basically means you disassemble the Java bytecode. Basically, you read you remember the Java bytecode is not written in a human readable way, right? So we want to be able to read it in a human readable way. So disassemble it, break it down, and then read it and understand. Like for example, look at function signatures and things like that, or how many lines are in the code and things like that. We can do that. So I'm going to say decompile Java bytecode. So how do we decompile Java bytecode? So we use the Java P command, and there's many options. But when you use -cp, we call that an option. So there's this -c, which means it's going to decompile it. So you can normalize using the internet. You can type Java P, Java code, Java doc, which is going to give you the Java doc or the Java documentation for the Java P command. So when you come here, you see that there's a lot of options. When you use -o, it prints the line and local variables. Then -p, it shows all the classes and members. Then -s, it prints the internal type signatures. I want -c, right? It prints the disassembled code, for example, the instructions for each of the methods, right? So I'm going to use, um, the thing is, they were not really specific, right? If you look at the practical, they say decompile the class, the one that, so decompile the class file that's inside the bin folder, and then save the results to a file that's called bytecode.txt, right? And then the bytecode.txt file should be pasted in docs folder. Yeah, these people are asking a lot. But I'm going to use the -c option because I'm not really sure. So I'm just going to use this option for it prints the disassemble code instructions, right? That's what I'm going to use. Now I'm going to go back here and then I'm going to say, so I need the command that works this way. It's the Java P command and then -c for the option, followed by the file that you want to decompile, right? So the file is inside the bin folder. So I need to do this. And then it's called twang. I'm not sure if you just type in twang or twang.files. They make an example here. I think they did use an example. Yeah. So you need to also include the extension of the file. So you need to say dot class. So I'm trying to use the -c option. You see, there it is here. So I need to put in the class name. So dot class like this. But then whatever this returns needs to be sent or redirected to the file. So there's two options to redirect your file. You use the greater than sign, which basically means take whatever is returned on this side and push it to the side. So this one greater than sign or one greater than symbol, what it's going to do is not create a new file. Every time you create a new file. If you wanted to append to the existing file, you use two greater than symbols. I want to create a new file, so I'm going to use greater than symbol. So greater than, and then the file should be called bytecode.txt. And then save my changes. And then, okay, I already saved console. Fine, it's already saved the changes. So now when I go back to my batch file, then refresh. Remember, you need to refresh to get the latest changes in your batch file. And then the program ran, right? And then this part is still running, and then it's done, right? So there's the file. So I'm gonna open it and then open it with Notepad++, so we can read the. So this is pretty much the information, right? Yeah, I'm not sure if this is what they wanted for this practical, but you can like you can inquire, right? You can inquire in class and ask, say, is this what you really want? Do you want the 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 disassembled code or what? Because they just said use JavaScript to decompile the class file and then save it. Okay, they said save it in the docs folder. My bad, we're not done. So this needs to be saved in the docs folder. So I need to move out of this current folder by using the two dots, and then percentage, and then docs folder, and then backslash like this. So this should be saved in the docs folder. So every time this command is run, it's going to create that file again and then save it in the docs folder. So I will upload the changes to GitHub. So so you just need to check in the description of the video. So let me actually submit it now. So git add everything, and then git commit, updated the files, and then git push. Okay, yeah. So if I go back to this and then I refresh, you should see the things is gonna change here. So now you see it is updated. So you're gonna click here, then there's the file, right? You don't have to worry about that. You can just click on code and then download zip, and then that's how you're gonna get the solution. So good luck with your practical. See you in the next tutorial.